steering wheel. Lapse the steering wheel, yeah. Give him steering wheel. Hey, steering wheel. Somebody tell him to give it to him. Come on! Whoa!
Your leg, my please. Your leg.
How the f*** is this possible?
I'm driving like a grandma. Get that, Ralph? Did you hear me? From the radio. Ralph, acknowledge. Now, come on, close him down and kill him. We've got a lunatic on the track. Down that mistake.
I am so annoyed.
Boys and girls, your attention, please.
Hello and welcome back inside the Par for May for podcast number 999. That's right, 999. Is that the call for help in the UK? Anyway, this is Todd.
No, Todd, not now.
AKA Negative Camera. You know I've asked you here.
You must convince the villagers that I'm harmless.
And why wouldn't you, really? What are we going to cover tonight? We got a lot of things to cover. Vowles, James Vowles, targets a Williams reset for the Belgian Grand Prix. It's certainly different than what he was saying in 2024 and 2025. We'll talk about that. British Grand Prix finishing under the safety car. It's F1's first ever penalty lap. We're going to unpack that a little bit. Max Verstappen's contract at play. Mathematically, it's triggered, folks. Woo! Look out for that. We're going to talk about that. And then we might, if we have time, we might talk about the FIA's grand plan to bring back V8s and all kinds of other stuff now that MBS has installed himself as the forever king of FIA. But we're going to cover that, maybe some more. Before doing that, though, I typically have to introduce my co-host, and that means I have to go all the way to the right coast of America, nestled near our nation's capital, just far enough away not to catch all the political, residue. And she's out here with her cats, enjoying life, really living her best life out here. You know her, you love her, the lovely, the redoubtable Grace, how you doing?
I don't know, but I think I am close enough to get any political residue. Do you see that?
Darn,
right?
I was hoping you were just on the outer,
I mean, it's not a very big place.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
It is what it is.
And it is a swamp, so it comports.
I guess. I don't know. Especially this time of year, I feel like everywhere feels like a swamp.
Yeah, it's a little toasty.
Jeez, it's a little warm.
Especially watching the Tour de France, or as we're supposed to say in the middle of America, Tour de France. Yeah, I've been watching that. Been warm over there, cyclists, so that's been exciting. Grace, big question heading into this podcast before we get into the Formula One.
Yeah.
Who is the bigger goat here? Harry Kane, Lionel Messi, or Marc Marquez?
I wasn't sure where this was going, but that was pretty good. I mean, I'm going to go with Marc Marquez, but for sure it's Lionel Messi. But that's not as much fun of an answer,
No, it's not. Yeah, I would go with Marc too. But, you and I weren't born and raised and steeped in football like the rest of the world was.
Whatever, the last 2 weeks I've been watching.
Yeah, me too. The whole England-Norway game, that was a nail-biter. And thanks to the Spider-Cam camera cable. Oh, boy. I don't want to get that going. And then I felt bad for the Swiss. Bless their heart. They played their guts out.
They sure did.
And down 10-11, and I was just hoping, just for the whole drama of it, and since we came off of the whole England game with
controversy,
I was just hoping that the Swiss could pull it off, just as a grand upset,
Yes.
Yeah.
And they did not.
Yeah,
but it's been good times. Good times watching. I'm enjoying it. And much like the Olympics, I now feel like I am for sure an expert on soccer.
Yeah. A friend of mine, an English gentleman, told me a stat today that the England is getting a yellow card for every 7 touches or tackles, while Argentina is getting a yellow card for every 22.
So Argentina is Ferrari. Is that what I've just discovered here?
There you go.
Got it. Okay.
Yes, okay. That's what he was implying. Now, keep in mind, he's an English gentleman, I'm
he's just saying.
Nice guy.
Okay. Thanks. Right. That's helpful to understand how all these teams fit in the world that I don't pay attention to until, World Cup time.
Yeah, right. And we haven't even talked about the French yet.
That's right. I feel I hear some good things about that Mbappe kid. He's been doing, he's kind of doing some stuff.
Yeah. And that Jude Bellingham, keep your eye on that youngster.
That's right.
He may make it to the big time sometime.
That's right.
It's like that
definitely.
young Mark Marquez kid. He's got world champion written all over him. Keep an eye on him.
Really watch out for Sebastian Loeb. I hear he's been doing really well.
Now, that guy's a talented young man.
That's right. Keep your eye out for that kid.
Exactly. Hey, speaking of fine young English gentlemen, should we talk about James Vowles?
Yes, the finest of the young English gentlemen.
Well, one of the best. One of the best. So let's talk about Williams. Okay, so if you listened a couple weeks ago, you heard me say some damn fool thing like, I felt like this is a real inflection point. We kind of look at, and this is just me speaking. I'm sure the rest of you are outraged and on the edge of your seat all season long. For me, it was like, Williams kind of missed the target. Hopefully they can develop out. And I wasn't that ramped up until they just continued to languish down in 8th or 9th in the constructors. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is such an inflection point. And I said that a couple of weeks ago. And because back then when I said it, remember, he convinced Doralton, the owners, that you just got to write off 24 and 25. That short-term pain for long-term gain, 2026. We are all in on 2026, and that's our year, right? Well, they're doing worse than they were last year. And so I think this is an inflection point. Now, he launched a 2-week review of Williams' development program, looking at really the whole season rather than just Silverstone, and what they're doing, after really admitting that the team's rate of bringing new performance to the car is just not fast enough. Right. And I think we'd all join him in that sentiment. He's promising that basically the team will reset and come back swinging at Spa, while separately saying that Williams will have almost an entirely new car by Baku in September.
Right.
Okay. They're going to come back swinging at Spa, but really the new car is coming out at Baku. They set 8th, as I mentioned, the Constructors' Championship with 11 points after 9 rounds. Long ways away from that 5th place finish where they were last year, right?
That's right.
That's a problem. And so then, remember, Grace and I talked about it, and I said, Grace, I'm paraphrasing myself here. I said, Grace, they'd better be watching Carlos Sainz pretty closely at this point.
Yeah, that guy's he doesn't have the time, right? It's the Toto Lewis scenario, right? James can play 5 years. He can play the long game. Carlos Sainz cannot. 5 years he's not going to be here, Right. In the sport, very likely. So he can't wait for them to just have a bad year. He doesn't have that kind of time in the sport.
Yeah.
So
different shelf lives, right?
Yeah, very much so.
Carlos says, look, he's not going to seriously consider his future until after the summer break. But he's openly admitted that, the team doesn't have a car capable of scoring points, and that's a major issue for him. Right. And asked, that he just wants to keep all the noise floor down around contract situation stuff. He doesn't want to get into any of that stuff this season. But multiple outlets that I've read said that Carlos is eyeballing Audi.
That makes logical sense. Right?
Doesn't bode well for Nico Hülkenberg, but it does make sense.
Yeah, that's right. And you're right, because they would drop Nico Hülkenberg very quickly and pick up Carlos Sainz.
Probably. For sure. Probably. So what's the big deal? Well, if you go back to what Vowles was actually saying in 24 and 25, he told us that Williams would take some short-term pain because he was investing everything in 2026, that he didn't want to be 7th or 8th or 9th in the championship. And Doralton Capital's own co-founder said, he's kind of on the record back then as saying he didn't mind that Williams is running mid-pack for 3 years as long as the 2026 car itself was good. Well, that was the entire thesis back then, right?
Surprise! This is where you have the Arrested Development voiceover. The 2026 car was not good, right?
Exactly. The 26 car is not good. It arrived overweight. Vowles himself, saying that the pace of improvement is not where it needs to be. And it's not where it needs to be in the exact season that they were supposed to be rewarded after two years of pain, right?
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. This is not, I mean, even just as a fan at home, this is not what we thought. And I mean, some of that is he has to say that, and he really believed it. I just think that
for sure.
This season and the cost cap has really changed how everybody brings upgrades, because we haven't had the first time we've had a rule change with the cost cap, and it's really kind of like it has hamstrung how they approach each race and what they can do, and whether your plan is to bring a bunch of little things here and there, one big thing, which is what Williams is looking for, and kind of coming out with a B spec, like Aston Martin doing the same thing, like instead of doing incremental steps, just one sort of a new B spec car after the summer break. And that's sort of a different philosophy, and you kind of have to weigh, I guess, cost per seconds gained, right? Like, will 3 little winglets at race 4 be enough to get you, to, as opposed to doing one big new car in Spain, or in Spa? Like, so where's this trade-off? Because now you have to think about it as a cost per second formula, right? You can't just be like, oh, those 2 little winglets didn't work, let's put on these 4 little winglets. You can't do that now. And so it's really kind of changed how the teams work. Plus, Williams doesn't also have a boat side project like a Ferrari or a McLaren might have, right? They don't have these other things that might help them, but isn't officially helping them, so it's okay. You know what I mean? They only have this car. That's all they can work on. They don't have any other ways to gain any other information from other series, or other race cars or boats or something like that. There's no other way for them to gain information. It's this. This is what Williams has, and this is the wind tunnel they have, and the sims they have, and they can't make that kind of capital investment that a bigger team would be able to do. And this is it. They're going to get to the end of 2026 because hopefully the summer break will get them some positions. But again, it's not going to get them to all of a sudden to 5th, right? That's not going to happen. So it could be worse. They could be Aston Martin, I think. Yeah,
I was just going to say, it reminds me of Mike Crack saying, well, it doesn't make a lot of sense to bring these small incremental changes because it's not going to move the needle. At the end of the day, we got to bring a complete upgrade package, right?
Right.
I was trying to think, okay, so what's the skeptic check on it? Yeah. What's the assumption to attack on it? It's like, all right, well, one assumption is this 2-week reset that genuinely could change Williams' trajectory before Spa. But I think the review is this announcement of a full review obviously is under pressure. Mm-hmm. And it's more about managing, in my mind, it's more about managing the driver and the media than about producing lap time at this point. James has already told us that the real new car is not coming to Baku in September, which means anything badged as a reset before then is, sentiment management. It's not a technical fix. It's managing the narrative in that sense.
They have to look busy.
Yeah, right. James is coming. Look busy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or, Doralton Capital's coming.
Doralton's coming. Look busy. Yeah. And, look, I don't begrudge him that. That's not a knock on my point. You do have to manage the narrative here because you've got a lot of people, men and women who work there, some real brain trust that could be poachable now. You've got Carlos Sainz, who's nervous and talking to other, and even Alex, right? So James is managing a lot of missed expectations, and I think that's really tough for him right now.
And I think that James Vowles, I think if anybody else was in charge of Williams, I don't know that people would follow him. I think James Vowles is such a, I don't know, charismatic, I guess, even though he's
magnetic in his optimism and his...
Yeah, but even though I love that his delivery is always the flat engineer delivery, right? But he still has this sort of all right, I'll follow you to the edge right into a volcano, kind of all right, James says we're going to do what we're going to do. But at some point you're like, you've been telling me this for years now. I got to go, right? I think it is only because of who James Vowles is and that he has that the charismatic personality, even though he's an engineer and has this very like, but you believe him. You watch those videos and you're like, you're right, James. You're right. Next week is going to be different. I believe you, right? And
but he doesn't come across as a used car salesman. He comes across. He's not like, I'm the white lab coat guy. You know. I am always in the Vowles verdicts that they allow the like tough questions. You know, James always takes the like basically some version of why did we suck this week, James? Right.
Like there's always like they always. So I'm like I am sure that James has control over that. That if he didn't want to answer, you know, he knows what the questions are ahead of time. If he didn't want to answer the question, he wouldn't. You know, and so I do appreciate that they do always stick to the hard side of things to me it makes me feel more a part of the team. It's not just the usual sugarcoating you might get. You feel more like you're in, you know, the post-mortem meeting with the team or something like that. The questions that they allowed to be asked are those kind of questions like just what happens, you know, and whether they're technical or not. And I do think that Williams does do a good job of managing the narrative that way, that even though the team is not doing great, they still he talks about it in his videos. And that's not something that, could you see Flavio Briatore talking like that? No way.
No, I don't. And James strikes me as very much as the guy. If there's a mea culpa to be offered, he would be the first to offer it. I mean, I don't think he's not a blame shifter. No. So, Grace, for the So section, is the reset language they're talking about aimed at the fans and press, or is it really squarely aimed at Carlos Sainz ahead of his summer break decision?
Well, I mean, those two things, right, aren't completely separate from each other either, right? Like,
true.
Because I also don't pay attention to Audi in the same way. So I don't see that kind of, but maybe that's unfair. You know, it could just be, I like Williams. I've subscribed to their channel, so I see their content in a way that I haven't subscribed to Audi. So maybe I don't see their content, but I don't get that same feeling from Audi. And we will always have that feeling towards Williams. You are always Williams, right? Like, I feel like we've been doing this podcast, and for 1,000 episodes, I've always said, you know, Williams is the team that if my heart could make something succeed, it would be Williams. You know, if you could power a car and hope, it would be Williams. And so that sort of like isn't something you're going to get at another team. But I think that it is aimed at the fans and the press, and it's hoping that that's what's going to scoop in Carlos, because he knows, right? Like, I think he knows in a way that I can't possibly know. He knows the data traces. He's the one out there driving the car. He knows if this is trash or not in a way that you and I cannot know.
Yeah, but if it's recoverable.
Yeah, it does help manage the narrative, even for him, if people still feel good about it. You know, again, I would much rather be Carlos Sainz at Williams than Carlos Sainz at Aston Martin. Those are kind of two teams that are both sucking right now, and two very different narratives going around them.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, you know, in the case of Sainz, if he does leave for Audi next year at the end of the year, you know, it makes you kind of wonder. I mean, is that proof that Williams dramatically overpromised on 2026, that their aspirations were wildly not correct? Or is it just a case of a driver getting nervous and there's very few other seats available and he's taking the first open door he might find?
Again, I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Again, Carlos can't wait. He may, again, in his heart of hearts, if he was 22, he'd wait.
Yeah.
He'd stay. But he can't. He's not, right? And so he has to bet on himself and figure out where is he most likely to be successful, whether that be at Audi or at Williams. And, you know, I don't think Williams overpromised, like maybe any more than anybody else overpromises, but I don't think he was lying. Again, I don't think James was like, ha ha ha, I fooled them. They believed me, right? Like, no, he really, I don't think this is how he saw it playing out in his like very, and he's a realist, right? He's not like a hopes and dreams kind of guy. And so, there's something, and he knows, just like Carlos knows, what the real deal is in a way that I can't know.
Yeah. And he doesn't strike me at all remotely close to the kind of guy that's, was blowing smoke to buy
that's what I
himself
mean.
a job for
He's
5
a realist.
years. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think in his heart of hearts, he felt like they'd be there this year with all the best will in the world. But before anyone hit a panic button, I think we've tracked his time there pretty realistically, I think. When he first got there, made some impact. It was on the upside. The team did much better. Then the second year was the year Paul and I talked about it, and Paul said, this is the tough part. The first one is all the low-hanging fruit that he can quickly pick off and improve. The second one, you're deeper into the long grass, and you're really starting to hunt for the snipes and to make things work. And that kind of bore fruit. I mean, Paul was right on that. Those struggles were much more difficult to solve than the initial ones that he addressed when he got there. But I would say, even so that was difficult, he definitely is moving in the right direction. This year is a step back. There's no doubt about that. But if you look at last year and where he got, even when his 100% focus wasn't on that season, they were fifth in the championship. So, he's the guy. I'm not insinuating Doralton should get mad and say, well, you promised 2026 and it's not good, so you're out of here. I don't think that's the case. I think James will get him there. But will it be with the same drivers, and will some of their nervous, real brain trust get nervous and leave? I don't know. We'll find out.
I agree with that as well. And I think if anything, maybe James is too honest. You know what I mean? Maybe he's too not, you know what I mean? Like it's just, he's an engineer, right? It's just, this is what it is, right? There is no sugarcoating, right?
Yeah.
And so, I think, if you could stay for the long term, again, if Carlos was 22 and could stay long term, you would stay. I don't think that's the issue. I think it is just that he's now keeps jumping teams, and that's also not good for his narrative, right? Just like it isn't for any of us, right? That he went from McLaren to Ferrari, and now, he really needs to pick a team and stick with it. And you just I don't want Carlos to be like Alonso, who seems to always jump, and then the next year is the year that team does well, right? So that would be really sad if Carlos did jump to Audi and then Williams did get an upswing. But again, he has more inside knowledge than I do of what that's actually like. And same thing with Audi. Right. He would be able to assess Audi's placement in the world in a way that I can't.
Yeah, agreed. All right, Grace, just as a as a show note, I'm going to skip to segment 3 instead of 2.
All right.
Other than to say this about segment 2, I was going to talk about the British Grand Prix and the safety car and all that. But what caught my attention, what I thought I might talk about it, but I'm not gonna, is Gunther Steiner coming out this week and calling for full-time permanent stewards and greater use of artificial intelligence. So we need AI slop to prevent a repeat of what happened there. All I got to say is welcome to the party, pal. Grace and I have been calling for a standardized FIA stewarding crew for 15 years.
I don't think that's, rocket science, right? I don't know why they don't, right? Again, this it's
more of a shock they don't have it than they do.
A race car driver, that was like throwing us some bones, but,
Right.
I don't know. That's. But I do love that Gunther Steiner is like, we should be doing this. He's not even in the sport anymore, but yeah, you should be doing it. Although he is now in a sport with a consistent race director, so maybe he has some insight from MotoGP, and that's what he's trying to share. I don't know. I didn't see the full quote, but and I don't know what AI would do. I don't know. I'm sure you feel the same way. It's just like, I remember when social media was like, why don't we just measure that on social media? Yeah, let's not. That's not going to solve your problems.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Now
I feel like AI is that same thing. Todd's sick today. AI,
AI, yeah.
Why is that's not going to fix everything? But great.
I've got an idea. Let's put our fate in the hands of aggregated mediocrity. Perfect.
Correct.
Let's do that.
So yeah, it's great. So I'm not sure that's going to solve it either, but great.
I know. All right. So the one thing I am going to talk about is Max Verstappen's exit clause.
Well, yes.
That grace has just gone from theory basically to mathematics. Yes, because it's triggered. Now, what do I mean by that? Well,
Right.
Max's contract lets him trigger an exit for 2027. If he's not inside the top 2 of the championship at the summer break after the Hungarian Grand Prix on July 26. That is what it is rumored to say. Now, the top 2 positions are effectively mathematically out of reach due to George Russell having 154 points, Lewis Hamilton 147. So, reports say that the clause can be exercised as late as October, and that Red Bull shareholders are reportedly split over whether to try to buy that clause out or not. The plot thinnens.
That is, I mean, okay. I would love to be a fly on the wall in that boardroom meeting.
Me too.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
My little fly legs.
Yeah, your little fly legs.
I'm waiting to land in somebody's drink. This is going to be great.
Hover over someone's bagel. And Verstappen's manager has sort of offered a sort of conditionally loyalty. He's fine. It's basically he's fine.
But that's what he has. He's got to say that too, because if he says, "Oh no, I'm staying," well, then they aren't going to try to buy the clause out, right? So of course he has to be like, It's very much the Toto Wolff. It's intact. It's fine.
But there's always that conference. So his manager's kind of like, he's fine. I mean, as long as he's got a chance to win.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, but that's a big caveat, right?
Yeah,
and then all the rumors, the talks with McLaren and everything came out. And I was texting Grace and, you're going to have to become a Max supporter.
Listen, I guess so. If I survived Kimi winning a world championship at Ferrari, I guess I'd have to make it work.
Right. That was tough. When Kimi came to my team, she's a huge Kimi fan, and when he came to my team, she had to be happy for Ferrari winning, which, as a McLaren fan, that pained her.
It did, but again, a win for any driver who's been a McLaren is a win for McLaren. So,
right,
we claim that world championship too.
I think the obvious why does it matter? Well, I mean, it basically turns Verstappen's future into really a large. It's a bigger financial story, obviously, than it is a driving story. The contract clause and the calendar date in October. While that's not a wheel-to-wheel sort of result or consideration, it is interesting. I mean, it's kind of coming down to that. On what's actually deciding a 4-time champion's next move. And it comes down to that clause. And Red Bull has to spend the run into the summer, proving something with engineering rather than just more blank promises, Yeah,
it's a tough spot to be in.
It is.
It's a worse spot than Williams. I'm like, this is kind of like Williams. I think this is worse than Williams.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it is, especially when your rear wing doesn't close.
No, I mean, what was that about? And Isaac Hadjar is doing pretty good. I think that's the other thing too, right?
Yeah.
He's climbing up there right with him. So I'm sure he doesn't like that.
Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't.
The Alonso clause, right? And he's not supposed to be better than me or getting that close to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's people who read, from a skeptic check, the assumption that reading headlines saying it's mathematically live, so they all figure he's gone. And I think, okay,
I don't think that's true.
I don't either. I mean, being able to leave and having somewhere to clearly go, are two different things. And I don't know at this point, when you think of Ferrari being locked up, Zach says Piastri and Norris aren't going anywhere. Mercedes seemingly locked up. I don't know where you would go other than a significant financial benefit, i.e. go to Aston Martin if Lawrence is willing to pay you tens of millions,
why not add that ego to the mix?
Yeah, and the other thing is, that everybody's going to Aston these days. Christian Horner's going there, and I got to think, if there was some truth to Horner going to Aston, Max wouldn't go because I don't think Joss is ever. I don't think Team Verstappen's ever going to work for Christian again. And so, yeah, there's a lot at play here on where you would go. So I don't think that that's necessarily it. So, Grace, with until October to decide, does Red Bull spend the rest of the season making concrete engineering commitments or just managing Max's mood and trying to keep him in there even though they may not pull back?
I think they should be making concrete engineering commitments. However, they will actually just be trying to manage Verstappen's mood. Right?
Right.
Because again, I think it's the same thing. Again, going back to the Williams story, like James Vowles isn't blowing smoke up your butt. This could easily be them just blowing smoke up your butt, right? Like, so I think that's a very, very different place to be sitting.
Right.
Whereas Williams, you're like, I believe in you, James. It's just not happening fast enough. Here it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're going to say anything you can to keep me here.
Right.
But again, I also agree that unless Max is going to switch series, I don't know where he's going to go if he's not at Red Bull.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I mean, tying a retention or tying his retention to a single reference data on being in the championship or a single reference date is interesting in light of the fact that, we kind of saw with him last year how the whole competitive picture can change or flip in just 6 weeks, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
We're not in Vegas yet. And we lost 2 races, right? So
Right. Good point. Yeah, we did.
So we are further in the season, but still not at the point where, but I guess he can't be 1-2. So I guess if that's the trigger.
Yeah, right.
But, it doesn't, again, I don't think it doesn't mean they're going to be a back marker either. They could easily be 4. They're just, which again, Aston Martin would love to be 4th,
Yes.
or Lance Stroll would love to be 4th, and Alonso would love to be 4th, but it's not going to cut it.
Yeah, I was thinking. I read somebody say, what's it say about a driver market when you have a multi-champion has real leverage, but genuinely nowhere better to use it, right? And I thought, it's a great point, and I understand the point they're making. On the flip side, I will say, and we've been watching Formula One long enough to know, of course, Toto's going to say, no, my drivers are great. And Zach's going to say, no, my drivers aren't going anywhere.
Until they aren't.
Say, my driver's not going anywhere. Until Max actually says, no, I'll come there. And and if it's financially remotely negotiable and they can work that out, he'll find a spot at a top team, irrespective of what they're saying to the press.
100%.
Yeah. Let's see. What else is... so the whole F1's V8 and customer engine plan. I found this an interesting conversation. I was thinking, does it fix the manufacturer power control over Formula One, or is it just kind of relabel it? And so I started digging into that story a little bit. So MBS Eddie Everywhere... Mohammed bin Salem, the head of the FIA, apparently for the rest of his life. Forever. He posted the 2030 V8 targets around 760 horsepower with significantly less hybrid power, basically going from 50 to 46% down to 10 or 15%. The goals are cars are up to 100 kilograms lighter, R&D costs cut roughly in half, and with a cap, and back to the sound that we all want from a Formula One engine. Okay. It's also weighing an independent Cosworth-style engine builder to sell customer teams a controlled, affordable unit specifically to stop the manufacturers using engine supply as leverage as some of their customer teams, which we know happens. Yes. So these naturally aspirated V8s would burn more fuel. So guess what else is on the table, which you and I have been saying since 2008. That's right. What has Grace and I been saying in perfect unison? Bring back refueling.
That's right.
Right? Well, no. Felipe Massa dragged a fuel rig down the pit lane in Singapore. Yeah, he did. And technology's moved on, folks. So
I like that you just skip over Jos Verstappen completely catching on fire. We're just going to talk about Felipe Massa.
Yes.
That's fine.
Right. So there's that element, and the reality of it is, let's see, Mercedes has got, 4 teams, including themselves, Ferrari's 3, Red Bull 2, Honda and Audi their own. But there was an interesting article over at the race that I read. It was from Gary Anderson, and Gary's always a good read.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he was talking about the customer engine idea, and he was saying that that's kind of doomed, pointing to the failed attempt back in 2010 to 2012. And if memory serves, that was the whole ProDrive Dave Richardson's debacle. Back then, when he was all in going to bring a team with customer engines or customer teams, and they wouldn't let it. So the real fork in the road here for F1's next engine, I think, keep the manufacturer branded model that pulled in Audi, Honda, or Cadillac, or do you dilute manufacturer power with a neutral option and risk a permanent 2-tier grid? It's a bit of a deal. And Anderson's own fix, by the way, in that article, he was saying, forcing manufacturers to supply 2 or 3 teams instead of 1 is really a governance sort of thing, not necessarily an engineering thing. But I think there's a lot of political weight and leverage that even if you're supplying 2 or 3 teams, that you can exercise over that. Remember last week when I was saying that McLaren said, Mercedes is able to do this using this one weird trick that we haven't been able to find in our Mercedes, right? So there's those elements. But either way, what do you do, Grace?
So I think, this is where customer cars as a construct, in a way, it's just doing what it already exists. It's just saying it out loud, right? Saying the quiet part out loud. That you have teams that already have a second team. You have Red Bull and Racing Bulls, and then you have all the Ferrari cars. And so we always talk like, well, wonder where Haas is going to vote. Right. But I think to me, the thing is, if you move to something like this, this is no longer Formula One. This is something else. You now have some other, it's 2 spec series. Like which is the criticism back in 2010 to, right. Because I think, if you want to, people are like, well, I like to watch drivers. Well, then there are spec series. There's a place to watch that. I guess I always use the beer analogy, right? Don't try to make my Guinness into your Corona. If you want a Corona, have a Corona. Let me drink my Guinness, right? Like these are 2 different things. And so I think it's already hard enough because you have cost caps and a lot of the parts are spec'd and there's a lot of things you can't, the guardrails get smaller, tighter and tighter every year, right? And so I think the further you move away from the every team brings its own thing to spec series, it's hard to then get behind this as Formula One. And so then why would a team like Audi stay? What are they gaining from this? They actually are there perhaps to improve their cars and improve their brand. It's not just they're not just like a Aramco or somebody that might be sports washing their brand or something like that, or just trying to get eyeballs into their, what do you do? I'll buy Pirelli tires. They race in Formula One. Like, that's not why these manufacturers are into the sport. And so I think that's really going to hamper that. And why would you stay? Why would you stay if you were one of the manufacturers? And I'm pretty sure they'd have to agree to all of this. This is just right now MBS's dream.
Right.
He can't make this reality on his own. And I just think when you read that they want to cut the R&D cost in half, I'm like, well, then what's the point of this sport?
Yeah. It's an expensive sport, but that's what keeps you on the cutting edge. Right. I think the assumption to attack on this is that, they said, well, look, an FIA-appointed engine manufacturer automatically frees up customer teams from the manufacturer influence they may have over them, right? From that perspective. And fair enough. But on the flip side of that, I think manufacturers spend hundreds of millions on their own units. So they have every reason to keep a cut price rival second best. And they'll do that. And that doesn't remove the power imbalance. It just sort of relabels it to where, to your point, which you just said a moment ago, which relabels it as basically a 2-tiered system.
Have a satellite team, right? You have the main manufacturer and the satellite team.
Right. So, Grace, does the FIA engine actually solve the leverage problem, or just swap manufacturer leverage for FIA leverage over who gets picked?
Oh, it's just switching one for the other. It's not solving a problem.
Yeah. Would Red Bull, tied to Racing Bulls, or anyone else actually give up that much control voluntarily?
No way.
I don't see it either.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is just your dream right now, MBS.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not reality.
Yeah, so I don't know that would happen. And on the refueling, is refueling really the fix for a weight problem the sport created itself, or is anyone taking the safety history seriously enough to the point I made about, potential fires and that sort of thing?
So I think, this is not my point, clearly. Oh, look at that. Not my point at all, because if it was, no, it's Jonathan Noble's point. But they were talking about how if you make all these changes to the car that MBS wants to make, you then have to have refueling. Because you now can't run the car. I mean, and of course he has actual numbers, whereas I'm just
right.
paraphrasing some paraphrasing.
Jonathan did the math.
Right. He actually, so check it out, right? But he actually presents that part of the problem is that if you do all the things that MBS wants to do to the cars, you either now can run 2 laps or you have to bring back refueling, right? Because you no longer have the hybrid. You no longer have these other ways that get you through the race without refueling. Right. And so that's another component in here too, is that not only do we want to have refueling, but do we have to have refueling? And those are kind of two different things.
Conference. Yeah. I actually, and you and I have been asking to bring it back since 2008 because
I think it's interesting.
There was a whole different strategy dynamic, and it worked for Schumacher. It worked a plum, right? It worked a treat. Short fuel, lightweight, pull out enough gap, stop, do a 2-stopper on a 1 or a 3-stopper, and it worked, and he had the talent to make it work. And I think there's drivers on the grid now that have the talent to do it, of course. But I think that adds a dynamic to the strategy in as much as you don't know how fueled they are. And I remember watching races not too distant past when we had refueling. There was the whole, nobody knew how much fuel was in each car.
No, that's right.
And you could assume it, and other teams are very, very, very smart engineers, and they can measure, if you were on the Mercedes wall as a strategist and you were watching Ferrari and watching different runs and seeing lap delta time, and you can assume an educated guess for sure, but you're not 100% sure how much fuel's in that car. Right. And sometimes when you think they're running light and they've got a box and they don't, holy cow, we missed that one. It just adds an extra element to the strategy dynamic that is visual. Fans can see it. No, we don't know how much fuel's in those cars, but when they make an extra stop. Right. Or when they're running along and you think they might have to make an extra stop and they don't, right? And so anyway, I'm with you on that one. I think it
would be good. But I think that MBS, he may be president for life, but he just can't drag 11 teams to do what he wants. That's also not really how that's going to work.
Yeah, and there's another side of me that I've got a lot of deference for the concept. I've said, and Gary Anderson, it's a good read. It's speaking of Jonathan Noble, he's a handsome young chap. He does a great job. He's a pro. Certainly read his take on it at the race or wherever that was that he published it. And then Gary Anderson was over at the race. And Gary usually has a good way with words and some great insight. And Gary speaks to this about the teams and back then that most of the a lot of people were not for going to this hybrid, full stop.
Right. That's right.
And I can corroborate that because I was with Shell. I toured Ferrari in Maranello, and I had lunch with the team. Right. And I was sitting next to some of their engineers. and that group. And we were talking about the upcoming 2014. And we got into depth about the engine and those kind of things. And at the time, I was telling him, I remember Max was saying, well, he wanted to go to a 4-cylinder, not a 6, And he said, yeah, I mean, the 4's not going to cut it. But he said, on the flip side, you could understand because he goes, you might as well just make it 8 and not 4. Because if we develop an 8, you cut it in half, and that's your 4-cylinder technology, evolution. So it doesn't matter to them. But when I was talking to them at the time, they were not in favor of going to that hybrid power unit in 2014. Sure. And Gary talks about that. And so at the time, I remember writing some articles for the website that and it was very upsetting to me on how expensive these engines were. I mean, it was bankrupting teams just to afford these engines. And everything's, oh, no, we're going to have the cost cap. We're going to have, and meanwhile, it's a $40 million price tag for the engines, right? And I was like, this is crazy. And you were never going to get small teams and privateers set up to be somewhat successful on F1. And I remember saying at the time, then just have Gibson make an inexpensive engine and let these privateers use that with the Kerrs and stuff, so they can afford that, But same arguments that we're just saying right now were true back then. So, yeah, I have a lot of deference for it. I don't know where that'll land. And as Gary pointed out, and you and I've pointed it out on past podcasts when we came up about engines, and I said, remember, everybody is all excited about bringing Cadillac in, or everybody's all excited about bringing Audi in. Everybody was excited about bringing Toyota in and BMW and all that. And then BMW turns into the ultimate quitting machine, along with Honda and Toyota. Boom. Gone. Just with this boardroom decision, they're just instantly out of Formula One and sold the Honda team to Ross Braun for £1, just to bail out. It can happen that quick.
Yeah.
So for the longevity of the sport, you got to think, well, is that the best thing? And look what they've done to try to prevent that from happening. They've written the rules to the point of where we're at now, which is kind of nonsensical.
Right.
So anyway, just my thoughts. Just my thoughts.
That's right.
What do I know? Hey, Grace.
Yeah.
We do have a mailbag.
You've got mail.
Oh, all right.
Can we do some mailbag?
Sure, we can do mailbag.
Oh, no. Let's do. We got to do Albon's cats. Oh yeah.
What does it all mean, Basil?
I don't know. You got some Albon's cats for us.
I do.
Does anybody have anything for Mark Marquez? As Nick Harris would say.
Not in Germany. They do not. Nobody
the Saxon Ring. 10-time winner at the Saxon Ring.
Yeah. And he's still like, an arm and a half at this point. So, too great.
Guy's legend.
Yeah. And, I agree. He's carrying apparently all of Aprilia now, right? Like, I'm pretty sure, original recipe Aprilia didn't see the season kind of swinging in this direction, right?
I guarantee it.
This is not what they had. But, Trackhouse, it just seems like a much calmer place to be might be part of it too. They just seem
How about that crack house?
That's right. Maybe when you just don't have the pressure of the world, you're just like, we're just racing. And then
I know, they did great.
Yeah.
It was a great result.
Yeah.
It was, kind of a straightforward ho-hum race, but they did great. Yeah. Very happy with them.
That's right. Nobody thought that. So,
no.
All right. So, so I did want to go back around to the World Cup, which I now have taken to calling I prefer to refer to it as foot hockey, because soccer and hockey are very similar. And so I just now refer to it as foot hockey, because I was home last week and people were like, you watch soccer? I'm like, it's just hockey with feet. It's not different, really. And then somebody was like, well, the offside rules. I'm like, and the crease is bigger. But, in broad strokes, it's just hockey. It's fine. We can all watch this. So, some foot hockey. So, I did want to see, who your pick was, since the World Cup will be over before next week when we're on again. So, who do you got? France, Spain, England, or Argentina?
Oh my gosh, that's so tough. So tough. If you're England, you probably don't want to face France.
No.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Well, no offense to Argentina. Bless their hearts. They're doing great. And who isn't a Franco Colapinto fan? But
Jack Doohan, that's you. But
Jack Doohan is not. That was good, Grace.
Thank you.
That was very good. I have something. This is Jack Doohan.
Get off now.
Yeah. So, but then France. You know, my wife's a huge Francophile. Speaks fluent French. I got to go because I'm an Anglophile. I got to go with all my British brothers and sisters out there. Just for the whole thing of Bring It Home. It's been forever.
It is a great story. They've been playing very well. It's a great story. Jude's doing great. Harry's doing great. Gordon's doing great. I'd love to see England win. I think I'm actually contractually obligated to cheer them by my association and friendship with Paul. I think if I don't, I actually lose my friendship with Paul. So I think I have to. Oh, okay. So that's all it takes for Paul to leave me alone. Got it.
That's it.
I didn't know it was that easy.
Cheer against England and he'll leave you alone.
Cool. Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, you'll be dead to him.
Great. Well, then that's about to happen because I think it's going to be France.
You're going to go France, yeah. It's a good shout. It's a good pick.
You know, I don't think you can really go wrong here. So
yeah, no, you can't. I mean, really, if it's Argentina, England, France, Spain, they're all really good, and I mean, you want Spain to do it because you don't want Fernando and Carlos to be upset.
No, I don't. Isn't their lives hard enough right now?
Their lives are hard enough. That's right. They could use a little fun and frivolity and victory in Spain because they sure aren't handing it to them.
No. Pedro Acosta could use some of that love too.
Pedro could use that too. Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Mark, he's good. Mark's fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine. Either way. Although I did note, and I tried to figure out which announcer it is, but one of the announcers straight up sounds like James Hinchcliffe. And every time, it's just kind of the way he speaks and the way he pauses. And I can't, because they always show you their names, but then they never refer to each other. And they're never like, so Todd. And I'm like, Todd's the one that sounds like James Hinchcliffe. I don't know the announcers well enough to know which one is which of the three announcers, but there's definitely one that totally straight up sounds like Hinchcliffe. That's pretty funny to me that it's like, it's very much like the Olympics when it's like, oh, wait, I know that voice, right? Like, it feels like that. I'm like, Hinchcliffe is now doing something. Right. Like, no,
at the Sankey Sliding Center.
Right.
I know that voice.
Exactly. So it does kind of feel like that, except it's not. It's not Hinchy, but that guy does really sound like him.
Well, they've got pizzazz. All three of them.
We sure do. But I did also want to give a shout out. So we have referenced several times the High Performance Podcast with Jake Humphreys and Andrew Ridgely because neither of us can remember the other guy's name. Well, I just can't
get over Jake. Get some comfortable chairs. Honestly, my man, listen to me. You don't know me, but I think the world of you. You're a good guy. But those chairs look like they are actively trying to push you and your two guests out. Yes. All the time. They're like just barely hanging on, And it's kind of like, Jake, for the love of God, get a comfortable chair that isn't constantly trying to push our man Otmar to the ground.
Well, right. So that's the thing. So that's a separate podcast. So there's also a high performance racing podcast, which I only recently discovered. It's only started in April, so I don't feel too far behind. But I had seen, and my favorite family member, Rob S. Medley. Yeah. So
who doesn't love Rob Smedley?
I think if you guys are like, I just need another podcast. The three of them together, hilarious. So funny. And they tell, and maybe it's also because Rob Smedley was becoming an engineer when I started becoming a fan. So, a lot of the stories he tells, I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember that. But, they tell stories about Eddie Jordan and, because Smedley was at Ferrari during the Michael Schumacher year. So, it's just, there's some just really great classic stories.
Yeah.
But on the recent one, Otmar was talking. They were doing a live show in Silverstone. They were in a they weren't in their studio, and Otmar was complaining that the chairs, those chairs that you hate, give them a double chin. And they're like, "Yeah, Otmar, it's the chairs. That's what gives you the double chin. The chairs. That's right."
Yeah.
So, I think if you again, it is not. It is informative, and you will learn things, but you will also laugh very hard. And I think that is, I enjoy it, and I enjoy that Smedley is sort of very like, I don't. He reminds me very much of Paul Charsley, and the like, why am I doing this with you people? Why am I here with you? Why did I agree to be in the room with the two of you yokels? Like, what?
I'm racing Valkyries and GT3 cars. What am I doing?
And I still have to talk to you two people. Why is that?
You guys aren't even in racing.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Paul loves us.
He does, but there's this sort of, there's some Smedley Charsley vibe going on there that I really do enjoy.
That's great.
And just the sort of way that, Smedley just talks about things, and then Jake Humphrey goes, "Oh, you mean this thing that the people at home don't know about. You're just talking as if everybody just knows what you're talking about. They don't know." So, but anyway, which I guess then makes me the Otmar, which might also be true because I probably do about as much research for this show as Otmar does for that show. So we're doing good, and I do have some funny shirts. So I did want to point that out to people that if you haven't listened to the High Performance Racing podcast,
it's great,
especially if you're sort of like the early 2000s, or sort of again that to me was such a different era than now, and you can kind of get a lot of that history through those stories that they tell and how it used to be. It's great. And then finally, my last Albon's Cats is I would like to give the sincerest of congratulations to you, Todd, for leading the Formula Fantasy team right now.
Am I?
Aren't you maybe you're just leading the three of us. I thought you were leading. Oh, look, now he's got to go look.
I am going to go look because I'm like horribly way down.
I don't think that's true.
No, it has to be. I didn't gain that much points. I'm checking this live in real time, folks. Hold on. Because I'm almost positive I'm like 26th or something.
But it may just be that you're higher than me and Paul, which, again, is the real celebration.
No, I did jump up to 19th.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, I jumped up 7 places last week. Oh, well, that's good.
Look at you. See?
Oh, yeah, there's Grace. And, yes, I'm ahead of both of you.
See?
I was so far behind both of you, and now I jumped 7 places.
Look at that.
Wow.
So I was just like, well, I need to make sure Todd sees that while it's happening, because who knows where we'll go next week.
Oh, I'll sink like a stone on the couch. Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that you had your week of celebration.
Oh, yes.
It
is crazy, isn't it?
Being ahead of.
Yay, me.
Yay, me. Yeah, especially considering my team principal was very unhappy with my suggestions for our fantasy team.
Was he? Oh.
Yeah, he asked my opinion, and I was like, well, I'd go with Red Bull. He's like, you don't think we should go with Ferrari? I said, we should never go with Ferrari. Why would you pick Ferrari? Never go with Ferrari. And, yes. And so we were not together during Silverstone.
You tell Flip I said he's right. Always pick Ferrari.
The text messages, it's just like, memes of divorce court, right? Like, I told you, I'm like, oh man, I hope Isaac does well, because this whole marriage is resting on how good Isaac does, right?
Yeah, right. Well, see, Flip, he's got to pick Ferrari because A, it's Ferrari, and B, Lewis is there, and Lewis is his
LH
guy.
is his boy. Yeah, absolutely,
so he's
his guy.
got to pick Ferrari.
I know, but I was just like, but it's Ferrari. I don't feel like you should do that, but you should do what you want. And
it's Ferrari, all right.
This is Enzo Ferrari.
Yep.
So I assume that hopefully helped you out, because it surely did not help me out not picking them. So
yeah, it sure did help me out.
Congratulations!
I had no idea I jumped 7 points.
Well, see, I'm glad I mentioned it.
I checked after the race, and I thought the race was already calculated, but maybe I checked before they had a chance to update it. So
again,
who knows?
Clearly, I don't look at it. I don't even know the password at this point. I've totally passed it off to my team principal. I don't know.
Good for you.
If he wins the lottery and leaves me, I'm not in the fantasy team anymore.
That's funny.
It'll just be riding forever on, like, Rubens Barrichello or whatever the people are right now.
Yeah, right.
Grace is still riding on that, Fernando Alonso.
You still have John Lacey on the podium?
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I don't know the password. I don't know how to change it.
All right, let's do some mailbag. Hey,
mail.
Our old friend Shumi in Toronto asks,
Yes.
He said, hey, boys and girls. It's been a while since I posted a question in the mailbag, but I have not missed a podcast. Oh, thanks.
Well, thank you.
He said,
Thank
my
you.
question today is, under parked for May conditions, can engine mapping be changed, or is it set in stone after quali begins? I cannot wait for the 1000th show. Thank you so much. And the answer to your question is that it is set in stone.
Okay.
You can't change engine mapping after.
I wouldn't think that they could, but I also would have to look that up to be sure.
Yeah. So what they've decided and calculated for engine mapping and what they're going to use and fuel saving and all that stuff is decided. And then it's locked. Yes. So there you go. Speaking of Shumi in Toronto, thank you for bringing that up. So next weekend is our 1000th episode, folks, and may not mean a lot to a whole bunch of people, but it means a lot to us because we've been doing this since 2005, and I couldn't have done this and wouldn't do this if it weren't for our patron supporters and all of you that have helped support us and paid for server space and software and licensing, software licensing, and all that good stuff. We couldn't do it, and I especially couldn't do this without the help of Grace and Paul. So we're going to do a special podcast next week for our 1000th. It is the Spa Francorchamps, the Belgian Grand Prix, and we will talk about that Grand Prix. But I've got a few things we're going to do that's kind of special and fun, and I hope you all tune in to our 1000th episode. We're really excited about it, and very honored after all these years to still be doing this for all of you. And so anyway, be sure to make it next week for podcast 1000. All three of us will be here.
Which is always fun.
It's always fun. You get Paul and Grace together. Somebody's going to be bringing up Manchego, you know?
Yeah. I'm just saying, especially if Spain wins, that's definitely getting brought up.
It's coming up. You just know it is. So anyway, be sure to tune in then, and so we'll be back next week to do that. But share your opinions. Let us know what you think about this podcast. You can do that at theparkformay.com. Just do it with decorum and civility, a hallmark of our website since 2005. If you like the podcast, hey, tell a friend about it. Share it. Send it out. Send it out. Just retweet it.
That's right.
Or repost it. Share it. Tell people. Give us a good rating on your favorite podcast player. We'd really appreciate that. And as I mentioned, we couldn't and would not do this podcast if it wasn't for our Patreon supporters who are financially supporting us. Huge, huge thank you. We do have swag, too. You guys can pick up some swag and T-shirts with, I think I put all the new logos on there, too. So you can take a look at that. And until next week, when we come back to do it all over again, this is Todd, a.k.a. Negative Camera, saying so long, Grace.
See you next week.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. I don't feel I've got to prove at all. I don't really want to prove anything. I started as an amateur with no idea or no intention of becoming world champion. I was curious to find out what it was like to drive a car fast, to drive on a certain circuit, to drive a certain